Welcome to the G2E Asia, making the integrated resort smart. I am Andrew Pearson with a company called Intelligencia, and we believe that a smart integrated resort would be a resort that is efficient, data-driven, connected through devices through devices that connect through IoT. It should be optimized. The relationships with customers and patrons should be seamless, should also be intelligent, and should take into account the emotionality of its customers, not just the context. So, in terms of a smart IR, the departments that will be affected will be casino operations, hotel reservations, marketing, F&B, IT, and waste management. The smart integrated resort is going to be utilizing AI and analytics throughout the operation. And here I want to start with the difference between how analytics is done today and how an AI-powered analytics system would be different. So with one is evaluating campaign effectiveness, let's say rules-based analytics would be the business manually sets rules and weights to attribute the value of each touch that led to a conversion. The new AI-powered way would be the AI analytics tool automatically weights and reports the factors that led to each successful outcome and attributes credit to each campaign element or step accordingly. In terms of identifying customers who are at risk of defecting, the rules-based way would be you manually study reports on groups of customers that have defected and try to see patterns. The AI-powered way, however, would be your tool automatically identifies which segments are at greater risk of defection. Now, we did a project with a social gaming company in India, and they actually have Gin Rummy is one of their games. And we were looking at customer churn throughout India and why certain people would be, playing the game and not coming back. When we presented them with our results, the interesting thing was they came to us and they said, we actually went to them and said, these particular cities look like their customer churn is pretty low. So we were wondering if they were doing anything in particular in those cities that would have reduced the customer churn. And then they actually were able to correlate the data with some YouTube and some marketing on TV and on billboards throughout the cities. So with our old way, we were not able to make that connection without them telling us. But with an AI-powered way, the system would actually have access to all of the different methods that were being used in all the cities and all of the, basically all the marketing data that then they would have been able to correlate and find a reduction in customer churn in particular cities that were actually getting the marketing. So that would have been an easy thing for them to spot. Because we didn't have access to that data, we're at the mercy of the company to inform us. So in terms of selecting segments that will be the most responsive to upcoming campaigns, rule-based analytics, so you will manually consider and hypothesize about the attributes of customers that might prove to be predictive of their response. The AI-powered way, however, is your tool automatically creates segments based on attributes that currently drive the desired response. And the last one here is to find your best customers. Rule-based analytics, you manually analyze segments in order to understand what makes high-quality customers different. The AI-powered analytics way would be your tool automatically identifies statistically significant attributes that high-performing customers have in common and creates segments with these customers for you to take action on in the future. In terms of benefits that companies are seeing for AI, using AI technologies in their organizations would be currently they're seeing 60% are seeing more accurate forecasting and decision making. 25% see that as a future benefit. Improved customer acquisitions is also a high one. Higher organizational productivity would be obviously important too. A lot of AI can be boiled down into robotic processes, so that can help with the productivity. Elimination of manual tasks. Once again, robots can help with that. Robotic processes. Better resource utilization, reduced operating costs, faster response time to customers for marketing, for example, all the way down to better employee efficiency and greater real-time personalization. So these are real world benefits that are happening today. I'm actually have a degree in psychology from UCLA, and one thing I look at is how psychology can affect customer personalization. And one of the interesting quotes I found was Decision fatigue and cognitive fatigue are the opposite of flow and seamlessness. Today, we are making too many decisions that tax our cognitive bank account. We dole it out on important things and not on things that are already operating well. So one of the ways the mind works is it's constantly following scripts and human beings are constantly following scripts that reduce the need to think too hard about certain things. I sit down at a restaurant. I know the person who steps up to me in a white shirt and black pants is probably someone who's going to deliver me the food. So we don't have to think, oh, what is this person, stepping up to the table for? And I think the seamlessness is the specific word that I want to focus on here, because any interaction with customers that you make seamless helps the selling process, because they're not stopping and thinking, oh, what is this? What is that? So the goal here is to get seamlessness as a standard way of utilizing your customer loyalty programs, your customer interactions, because you want to get them to the point where they're not really thinking too hard about entertainment that they've come to seek. For AI in particular, the goals throughout this discussion is you want to increase your turnover, increase your customer satisfaction, increase your employee productivity. Automation is a huge one. Better resource utilization, better employee efficiency. Obviously, that could be hand dealing speed. I'll speak about an example from another industry where they were able to use data points and data collection to affect change. Also, understand the customer experience using NLP, natural language processing, to filter and look at the customer comments on your products and services, and also to build a unified analytics framework that will allow pretty much anyone in the organization that you want to have access to particular customer information and analytics on that customer information. Machine learning is a very important function within AI, and as you can see here, it breaks down into 3 different types: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. This is a quick graph on how analytics and data have worked together over the last 125 years. And we look back to the early 1900s, we were looking at survey data. And, ironically, we were looking at eye tracking data back then, and we were actually back into that today. But if we go into the data collection throughout the 2000s and into the 2025, we're looking at search becoming very big, clickstream, which is also a very important element of personalization, which I will get into shortly. Video obviously has become huge in today's marketing world. Social and location. In terms of analytics, we're starting off with ANOVA regression, and then a Bayesian decision came in the mid 50s, and then all the way up to today, where I think the speed of which some of this technology is being created is ramping up. So we have deep learning, we have Google's deep neural networks, Amazon's machine learning, and Facebook's deep face, and deep learning products and solutions that have been created by these companies as well that are now actually useful from an open source way. This is how I break down AI, and we break it down into 5 different sections: sound, time series, text, image, and video. So in terms of integrated resorts, sound would be voice recognition, voice search, sentiment analysis, a little bit of fraud detection and flaw detection potentially as well. Time series would be log analysis, enterprise resource planning. Something like a recommendation engine would be good in time series. Text would be sentiment analysis, augmented search, once again threat detection and fraud detection. Not really that relevant, but perhaps a little bit in the social media phase. Image would be facial recognition, image search, which I'll delve into a little bit later as well. And video would be motion detection and real-time threat detection. Once again, not too important, but could be a little bit. So on the supervised learning, we have regression, which breaks down into 5 different types: advertising popularity prediction, customer worth, market forecasting, estimating life expectancy, and that is not necessarily human life. It could be the life of a product, the life of a machine part, something like that. Population growth prediction as well. On the classification side, this is extremely important, as it can help identify key patterns in purchasing. It can help with customer retention. It can help with image classification, which can be images on your website. that drive interest, that drive sales, that drive other things. It could also be image classification, and I'll delve into this a little bit later, using the images that are put into social media and understanding where your logo is, where your pictures of your property are. And when you have the classification down to a nice metadata level, you can actually see how far and wide your marketing is going. It can also help identify fraud detection. And in terms of that, machine learning can spot credit card fraud while it is happening. Machine learning can actually build predictive models of credit card transactions based on their likelihood of being fraudulent. And the system can then compare real-time transactions against this model. For companies in the travel industry and hospitality industry, that they always have to be worried about transactional fraud. There's things called account takeover, so someone jumping in and stealing points, or someone basically the incorrect owner breaking into another person's loyalty accounts, let's say. Loyalty program fraud as well, so maybe you have some people who are utilizing your points incorrectly. Rewards, which works into rewards abuse, as well as counterfeit card fraud. In terms of the unsupervised learning, we have clustering, which breaks down into recommender systems, targeted marketing, cashier theft, and customer segmentation. There's a company called Fanatics, which is an interesting company in the United States that is using a lot of machine learning and a lot of AI to increase the customer experience. And what they say is they sell shirts and sports teams, paraphernalia, jackets, and clothing. And so basically they have drilled down and built a personalization engine that understands people on a very base level. So it'll understand the teams that someone supports. And so when the Super Bowl ends, which is the big American football event that, 100 million people in the United States watch, with the press of the button, Fanatics can have 350 products live, and they have built scripts that search customer data to display a fan's favorite team, pulling in real-time scores and stats from vendor feeds and personalized branding using partner IDs. So if someone's a fan of, let's say, the Boston Red Sox, and one of the Boston Red Sox players hits 3 home runs in a game, which happens very rarely, but does happen, then the system is set up that all of the people who are Boston Red Sox fans are going to get a email saying, hey, do you want to buy a jersey of the guy who just, rocked this game? So this is a quote from an article from the MIT Technology Review about their system. So unlike traditional customer-facing platforms that deliver a fragmented view of the buyer, an intelligent platform presents a single aggregated view of customer data. The built-in intelligence layer helps businesses spot trends, anticipate needs, and respond more proactively. With that complete picture, for example, a business knows exactly when the customer last purchased a product, what that product was, whether he or she had a problem, and if so, exactly how it was resolved. The wide range of machine learning models learns from what is collected to unearth and match patterns, as well as act on correlations that would otherwise remain hidden. AI models embedded within the CRM system's personalization engine take into account the catalog that any given shopper sees and the context on how the merchant is engaging with that shopper, and then ranks every product for that buyer in terms of relevance from search results, making the most targeted and personalized results ever. So basically they're looking at everything the person's buying or even looking at, and ranking that according to what the likelihood of that person might purchase. And there was an interesting story where they actually used Twitter at one point to figure out who were the players that were going to get famous. And there was one particular player who was from Australia and had played rugby, but then came over to America and wanted to play American football. And he had in America, they have preseason games. They have like 4 games before the regular season. And this particular player had done very well for, I believe it was the San Francisco 49ers. So Fanatics had noticed his name being tweeted quite a lot, so they actually stocked up on his products, and they were one of the rare companies that were able actually to fulfill them because they had it. Another quote from the article: predicting customers' future behaviors and needs often turns on the ability to parse their emotions more than just their past purchases and create a shared bond. So once again, they're looking at emotion as a very deeply important thing. In terms of targeted marketing, The difference between the naive way and the AI-powered way to market to people would be, let's say it's 3 p.m., plenty of time to get it out would be naive, right? Somewhat informed would be, I read an article somewhere that said Monday was the best time to get higher click-through rates. Let's wait until then to send this out. The data-powered way, however, would be, we know the time zones of our subscribers. We'll send messages out during business hours for each individual because that probably means they're at work. They have good Wi-Fi, and they will be able to take a moment out to buy or to open, our offers. The AI-powered way, however, would be you let the system decide when the best time for each individual based on all the data the IR has about them. So with AI, you can basically set a goal and say, send out when I think the product the offer will be opened. So it could even include things like social channels. So if the system notices that, okay, he usually gets home at about 7 p.m. and fires off some tweets, and that's when, in the past, we've seen him open our emails. So why don't we wait till about 7, and we'll wait for that email or that tweet, and we will then send the email. So it's basically taking all the information that you have about the person and utilizing it so that you can almost guarantee to the best of your ability that he will open up your offer. In terms of unsupervised learning, it actually looks at the entire AI, the machine learning looks at the entire base of customers that you have and finds specific buckets that are drawn a specific way that have certain characteristics in common. These characteristics could then be considered a persona, which then the system will be able to basically clump these people together. So in this case, maybe there are some people who look like doctors, so let's put these doctors together. And these people look like IT people, let's say, or nurses or whatever. This way of culling through a database is actually a lot more effective than telling the software to find a group of people or personas that have a certain characteristics in mind, because you're actually building a considerable amount of metadata, but important metadata that then would be very easy for the system to find instead of culling through 1 million or plus records. This is what I call the analytic value escalator, and it basically has value on the y-axis and difficulty on the x-axis. And what we're looking at here is the higher you go up, the more optimization you will reach. So the level of difficulty gets more as you go higher, but the value obviously is bigger too. So basically, it breaks down into four different types of analytics. We have the descriptive analytics, which answers the question, what happened? So in this case, you're using Google Analytics to track a casino's website traffic, such as page views or number of visitors. With diagnostics, we're looking at why did it happen. So you're mining data to determine what caused a spike in a casino's web traffic over the past month, let's say. With diagnostic analytics, questions like why is revenue so low this week leads to, is it low for everyone or just some groups, which might lead to, has it been low all week or just for a few days? And is it getting better or worse? An example from the aviation industry is actually, so we had a client who said, we have a problem here. We have stewardesses who ask for the day off on a national holiday, let's say public holiday, and they end up, if they don't get that day off, they end up calling in sick. So it's pretty simple to cull through the data and look at the people who are calling in sick and then actually taking the day off. And then all of a sudden you've got, evidence after they've done it a couple of times, let's say. But that is a problem that they did have, and it's probably something similar for casinos as well. Predictive analytics, what could happen? So in cases of predictive analytics, it uses machine learning and AI to recognize patterns, match events to the patterns, and thereby predict the most likely next events. Based on how customers have responded to a campaign, predictive analytics will identify segments that respond in like ways. It will identify what attributes are important in defining the segment, then recognize any visitor that matches the segment, as well as predict the outcome of that visitor's interactions. In terms of the top one, prescriptive analytics, this asks the question, what should happen? So here you can use algorithms to optimize such things as table game revenue optimization, room rates, labor optimization. AI can be used to recommend optimal marketing budgets as well. So having discovered a segment that almost always responds to a particular campaign by adding an item to the basket but not buying it, prescriptive analytics would suggest the most likely way to nudge those visitors to take the next step. In some cases, this nudge could be done automatically and in real time. AI models can be used to build landscapes for each individual bid unit for things like your Google Ads, which could be a keyword. The AI will identify the point of diminishing returns and stay away from there. AI can predict aggregated elasticity between ad spend and revenue, can recommend optimal budget mix across portfolios, it can propose most optimum media mix, pace things in real time to ensure best pricing, and it can evaluate bids hourly for improved pacing on highly seasonal days. So some of the biggest AI leaders in the space in the US would be the FANGs, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. And in China, they would be the BATs, which are Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. And in terms of what they're doing, Amazon is claiming that with advanced recommendation AI, they're creating 35% of total revenues with personalized shopping recommendations. The recommendations are utilizing AI and machine learning. They believe they are taking personalization to the next level. So AI is also allowing for predicting the kinds of purchases consumers are going to make before they even know it. And they have created Alexa, which in the hospitality industry right now, you can actually use Kayak through Alexa to book a hotel room. And in terms of how likely people are to use these voice-activated and voice-controlled devices, we're looking at very likely, somewhat likely, at about 33% right now, but we are expecting that to increase substantially over the next 5 to 10 years. So if you want to use Alexa, basically the user invokes the Kayak skill on Alexa devices. So asking Alexa, ask Kayak, and then it walks you through a dialogue wizard with location, dates, ratings, and pricings. It can only give you one hotel at a time right now, but you will probably be able to choose from many in a not too distant future. Here also is a video that is utilizing AI.
I took the Healthy GX subscription for my mother.
So that was a computer-generated voice, and it's obviously English with an Indian accent, and it's quite realistic, and that's all created in AI. All you do is put in the text, and out comes the voice. So that could be used in video marketing for the property, for the casino, for events around around your property. So that way you don't have to hire an actor, you don't have to go through that whole long process. You can just put in text and boom, out comes a very real sounding voice in an interesting accent. So Facebook has a list of about 2 billion people and what they like, what they think, and who they know. And they have created something called Deep Text, which is a deep learning-based text understanding engine that can understand with near human accuracy the textual content of several thousands of its posts per second in over 20 different languages. All of this is based upon the neural networks, which analyze the relationship between words to understand how their meaning changes depending on other words that are around them. Facebook has also created something called Deep Face, and this is a facial recognition system which is reaching about 97% accuracy, which is what humans reach. The services they are thinking about offering in the future would be having a live feed from your, let's say, your shopping mall, and when someone walks in, Facebook can scan through their 2 billion pictures and basically give you the name of who it is, and that could be relayed to the Prada store or any other store that might, if this was a high-end individual, it could be relayed to whatever stores that this person might be shopping at. Facebook also uses deep neural networks to decide which ads to show to which users. Facebook tasks machines to find out as much as they can about us and to cluster us together in the most insightful ways when serving ads. Facebook is even using AI and deep learning to decide which deep learning and AI and machine learning models that they should use. So they're running simulations of about 300,000 machine learning models every month, which allows the engineers to test ideas and pinpoint opportunities for efficiency. Google is an interesting company that is considering itself AI first. The CEOs compared AI to fire. A few years ago, they created a company that they bought, created AlphaGo, which was able to beat the best human Go player. And now it's become AlphaGo Zero, which basically plays 4.5 million games against itself in quick succession. And it appears to have developed the skills required to beat the top humans with just a few days, whereas AlphaGo took several months of training to achieve the same level. So the point there is things are speeding up. Google also has something called Google Home, which has a voice assistant in it. So this is using AI to basically go from voice to visual. So you could say, I need this, or I need that, and it'll be able to pop up products that you might be looking for. They have a product called Duplex, which is a human-sounding robot. And if you've heard or seen the video, it's basically conversation from a robot to a human without the human knowing that it was a robot, making reservations and hair appointments. YouTube uses a new recommendation system, which is based on deep neural network technology, which means it can find patterns automatically and keep learning and improving as it goes. And they obviously have a language translation service as well, which could be utilized potentially for your property as well. In terms of Baidu, so the government a few years ago announced that China's first wave of open AI platforms will rely on Baidu for autonomous vehicles, Alibaba Cloud for smart cities, and Tencent for intelligent healthcare. And in terms of Alibaba, they use an AI-powered customer service chatbot called Dian Xiaomi, and it can understand more than 90% of customer inquiries and serve almost 3.5 million users a day. The more advanced cloud version, which is made available last year, the service also features capabilities to understand customer emotions through text analysis and alerts. And they also alert customer service staff for priority handling. In one feature, as consumers scroll up and down the company's shopping portal for their favorite products, Tmall Smart Selection, an AI-powered recommendation algorithm, will in no small measure help buyers to make a decision. Through parsing inputs ranging from brand reviews to buyers' behavior, Tmall Smart Selection predicts potential successful products and reminds retailers to increase inventory accordingly. Taobao also has an interesting feature in which they allow sellers to buy reviews. Basically, if anyone purchases something from their website, they can say, give me a review and I'll give you a little credit back. And basically, in many ways, one would assume that would be not really a good thing, because you'll just have buyers who are money motivated to give a good review. However, the AI system is set up so that it's only looking for reviews that are helpful. So they're asking for people who buy products or services, how to use these services, how to use these products, what's good about them, what's bad about them. So only reviews that are actually helpful in that way will be considered and will be used by Taobao. So Alibaba has spent more than $15 billion US to open 7 research labs as part of this AI project. These will focus on areas that include machine learning, network security, visual computing, and natural language processing. In terms of marketing, this is a quote I think every marketer should actually keep in mind, from Oscar Wilde. I can resist everything except temptation. So I think as marketers, we need to try to create products that are so tempting that they are irresistible. So in terms of customer life cycle, this is a graph known as the RACE graph. It's reach, act, convert, and engage. And the blue squares would be machine learning. The red circles would be AI applications, and the green circles are propensity modeling. So the first step would be reach, and those would include smart content creation, programmatic media bidding, AI-generated content, and voice search. And in terms of smart content, we're looking at personalization now, which is a very important part of marketing. An IDC survey cites that 85% of marketing professionals feel under pressure to create assets and deliver more campaigns more quickly. In fact, over 2/3 of respondents are creating over 10 times more assets to support additional channels. This increased level of complexity is driving volume and associated costs. This is an article about the magic of AI in a content-driven world, using AI to create content faster. AI can help you create more relevant content and more engaging experiences across the customer journey at the speed your customers expect. On the creative side, AI can speed up all kinds of tedious tasks, from identifying and organizing assets to adjusting and refining for specific channels. 40% of creatives are now saying that they're using AI in design and photo retouching, so it's already in play. And AI offers marketers the ability to optimize content in a creative-based way, which is also based on real-time user interactions. For example, from a content creation perspective, this allows the ability to understand the focal or sellable point of hero images, and then to auto-crop them for best performance based on an understanding of millions of assets with similar metadata. So how does it grab that metadata? So IDC has reported that marketers are saying that a third of their marketing assets go unused or underutilized. And obviously that is an enormous amount of cost that is being wasted. So products today can actually look at a picture like this little girl here and say, okay, I see a little girl, maybe approximate age, blonde hair, she's standing in a field under a blue sky, a green field. It could even say, okay, that's probably maybe somewhere in, I don't know, maybe Georgia or something like that in the USA. So all of this metadata can then be extracted from this picture without any human being, without any human intervention. And it can actually not just take the objects within it, but also the context of the photo, the quality, and the style. So using AI, marketers could train AI and ML models to create their own unique auto tags. This includes identifying brand characteristics like the company logo so that designers adhere to specific design brand standards, or training it to identify a company's products so that they can be tagged in pictures on social media, which helps identify true reach. This can also be done in video as well. So advances in AI and machine learning are empowering marketing teams to streamline and accelerate video production workflows and create more targeted content in less time and with fewer resources. And here's a quote from The Future of Video Advertising is Artificial Intelligence by Matt Simaglia. AI algorithms can cut a different video ad in milliseconds. Instead of taking one day to edit one video, it could compile hundreds of videos, each slightly different and tailored to specific viewers based on their user data. As the video analytics flows in, the algorithm can edit the video in real time too. Instead of waiting a week to analyze and act on viewer behavior, the algorithm can perform instantaneous A/B tests, optimizing the company's investment in a day, even to the point where if we had a video that was directed towards young Asian men, it could contain perhaps, Asian women. If it was directed towards an America, maybe African American men, it can contain African American women. And age obviously can be factored in there as well. So the way Simaglia sees it is, in this future of data-driven dynamic content, viewers' information is siphoned to AI that determines aspects of the video based on their data. Simaglia sees advertising being tailored towards individuals. The options for customization extend beyond user data too. If it's raining outside, it could be raining in the video, easily done by the agency plugging in a geolocating weather script. For AI-generated content, AI cannot write political columns, but it is good when it's dealing with repetitive information, such as finance or sports, and it can also be used for events that are happening across a property. So AI content writing programs like one named Wordsmith can pick elements from a data set and structure a human-sounding article. In terms of voice search, this is an interesting one as well. So this is a quote from Hugh Goosery. A brand that nails voice search can leverage big gains in organic traffic with high purchase intent, thanks to increased voice search traffic due to AI-driven virtual personal assistants. In her article, Voice Search Isn't the Next Big Disruptor, Conversational AI Is, Christy Olson explains the importance of being what she calls position zero in the search rankings. Position zero is basically when you type a query into the search engine, we all know hundreds of options pop up, but with voice it's different. When people engage in a voice search using a digital assistant, roughly 40% of the spoken responses today, and some say as many as 80%, are derived from featured snippet within the search results. So in search speaks, that's position zero. When you are that featured snippet in an organic search, that's what the assistant is going to default to as a spoken response. So here's an example with, we work with a company called Asia Yogis, which is they sell yoga leggings, yoga tops, all kinds of yoga clothing in Hong Kong. And basically here is the organic search. So we've actually tweaked, we've worked on the SEO, and we're number one. And what happens here is, if you're number one, you're going to be the one when someone calls in and says, I need yoga pants in Hong Kong, and it's going to come up and say, oh, you need to go to Asia Yogis. So the important thing in voice is you got to get number one. This is what's known as the Google Answer Box. And so not only is the Google Answer Box at the very first spot above the standard organic results, but it also has a unique presentation format that immediately sets it apart from the remainder of the page. This instantly increases the credibility and authority of the brand providing the answer to the user's query. Consequently, Google's answer box may be the only search result viewed by the user. Perhaps more importantly, it is the only answer read in response to a voice search. So how do you do that? How do you get to that spot? Best practices of organic search, basic SEO, embrace schema markup and structured data within your website so you are providing search engines with signals and insights to be included in the knowledge graph. Claim your business listings, obviously. Understand the questions people are asking and incorporating that question and conversational tone into your content. Understand the languages your customers use. Optimize for topics that reflect the intent of your audience instead of just keywords. Create content that solves challenges and answers most commonly asked. Optimize to short attention spans. And Google recommends focusing on the I want to know, I want to go, I want to do, and I want to buy moment. Nearly 20% of all voice queries are triggered by only 25 keywords, which are some here, and the top word understandably would be free. 4, ad targeting. This is another interesting area that AI can probably help with as well. So currently, in short, AI programs draw from data pools to make decisions about where and when to buy or sell ad space according to demographic and cost versus benefit information. Essentially, your TV can learn about your habits in the way your web browser already does, allowing advertisers to present you with ads based on that information. So you'll see fewer repetitive ads that you don't care about. This means you and your neighbors may be watching the same program, but they're actually you're seeing different ads which are based on your unique interests, kind of like what the web browsers are doing now. So thanks to programmatic TV advertising, advertisers can know how many people have viewed their ads, where these viewers are located, and what their viewing history looks like, with information updating pretty much by the minute. They're also able to get more accurate data about an ad's cost per impression, allowing for more relevant and cost-efficient targeting. One of the things we have to move into, and this is the new world, is companies should have both a single view of their customer as well as a single view of their media. Propensity modeling I won't get into. Predictive analytics I've already touched upon, and dynamic pricing is interesting. Web and app personalization. So in terms of this, which is very important because especially now that connecting to customers can be done through an app. This is from an article, The Art and Science Behind Every Add to Cart. Julie Skicott, head of product design and content for Magento, says to prompt a customer purchase, brands must create online experiences that focus on 4 main characteristics. They must be personalized, reflective, transparent, and use pleasing aesthetics. Morphing is one of the ways a brand can hyper-personalize the customer shopping experience. And morphing basically involves automatically matching the basic look and feel of a website, not just the content, to cognitive styles. So cognitive styles are actually interesting because cognitive style dimensions might include impulsive, so someone who makes decisions quickly versus deliberate, someone who explores options in depth before making a decision. There can be visual preferences, images versus verbal, prefers text and numbers, or analytical, someone who wants all the details versus holistic, just the bottom line. And these are all important styles that can then help you personalize the marketing. Another thing in terms of the app we were looking at, Baccarat obviously is one of the biggest financial draws, or that's where the casinos in Macau especially make an enormous part of their revenue. And some of them actually have these looking at trends. So with the app, you might want to look at hyper-personalizing to the point where someone could actually walk on the floor and say, give me alerts on tables that are getting hot, or when they get more than 5 banker or player in a row, send me alerts so I can run over to the table and try to bet on that trend. So it's an interesting opportunity that could actually be done, and this information, once again, is all collected and it could definitely be utilized. Chatbots are another one. Chatbots obviously they mimic human intelligence by interpreting a consumer's queries and potentially complete an order for them. It can even be to the point where I know a lot of people who work for companies want to they have difficulty talking to human beings about problems. So perhaps a chat bot could be utilized to help people report things that they might find embarrassing, or they are worried that their boss might find out. So it could be a good way to ease to increase communication. Marketing automation. This is a quote actually that's quite interesting that talks about the difference between today's technological marketing world and what we were facing 10 or 20 years ago, by Dan Woods, from his article, How Real-Time Marketing Technology Can Transform Your Business. So he writes that technology has changed marketing and market research into something less like golf and more like a multiplayer first-person shooter game. So anyone who's played CSGO or any of those first-person shooter games will recognize this. So crouched behind a hut, the stealthy marketers dressed in business casual camouflage assess their weapons for sending outbound messages. Email campaigns, events, blogging, tweeting, PR, ebooks, white papers, apps, banner ads, Google AdWords, social media outreach, search engine optimization. The brave marketers rise up and blast away using weapons not to kill consumers, but to attract them to their sites, to their offers, to their communities. If the weapons work, you get incoming traffic. And I think it's a very interesting way of looking at the world that we're in now. Phil Gowran, the U.S. Chief Integration Officer at an agency, McGarry Bowen, predicts that by 2022, 80% of the advertising process will be automated, a threshold that will never be surpassed. So the remaining 20% will comprise such elements as brand value, storytelling, and other more experiential tactics that will always need a human driver. Just want to do a quick discussion on the customer connecting, the old way and the new way. So the old way would be, I go through the advertising agencies, I pay them a small fortune, they take a cut, everywhere they put the advertisement, and they reach things in the old standard way. I also am fitting in the old way, the Facebook, the Twitter, YouTube, WeChat, WhatsApp. The old, social media is not that old, but it is kind of getting older in terms of marketing. The new way would be the content providers are actually now the channel providers as well. So companies like AT&T, which has I don't know how many millions of subscribers it has in the US, is now creating its own advertising network. Disney, with its content, is now creating its own streaming app. Walmart, a company that is one of the giant retailers, is now producing a platform where it's helping advertisers connect to their 100 million shoppers in the U.S. And Roku, which is an interesting connected TV hardware company, is quietly building a large software business driven mostly by advertising revenue. Roku typically doesn't sell advertising through an open exchange like some of the big tech companies do, but it does use programmatic infrastructure to digitally target those ads, a tactic commonly referred to as programmatic direct or programmatic reserved. They did recently team up with a company called Adobe, and it helps marketers can now match their own audience data with Roku's in a way that provides an unprecedented degree of targeting granularity for those eager to engage with the streaming provider's 27 million viewers. Pop Sugar, Quartz, these are all content providers. News IQ, obviously, or I shouldn't say obviously, is actually a part of the Fox network or News Corp. So what they've done is they've just unveiled last year a new digital offering, a brand safe advertising platform boasting an audience of over 140 million in the US alone that features all its first-party data insights for the first time. NBC, one of the biggest broadcasting companies in the United States, has recently made its full portfolio of broadcast and cable television available to advertisers through a DSP, essentially automating ad buying for its TV market. In short, the future of the advertising business is being moved to technology companies managing ad networks and media companies making branded content, that is, away from the advertising agencies. So in terms of AI, facial and emotional recognition technology is actually becoming something that is to the level where we can pick out one person out of 30 million pictures in a matter of seconds. So I know Hitachi displayed that technology a few years ago, and we're even better than that now. So in terms of facial recognition and what's happening in other parts of the country, other parts of the world, There's an app called FindFaced in Russia, actually, which a few years ago actually trolled through Russia's Facebook, which is a company called VK, and grabbed all the pictures from that. And you can now actually use that app, take a picture of, say, a woman on a park bench, and that will tap into and show you her VK profile. So you could actually then say, hey, would you like a date? Or I saw you here and there. So it's getting to the point where, at least in Russia, you can just take a picture of someone and connect with them instantly. In China, they're getting very sophisticated on facial recognition technology as well. A few years ago, 25 wanted criminals were arrested at the Qingdao Beer Festival after being pinned by facial recognition software at facial recognition software checkpoints. So this is the world that we are getting into now. For beyond facial recognition, there's something known as emotional recognition. So there's the companies like Effectiva, which develop cutting-edge AI technologies that apply machine learning, deep learning, and data science to bring new levels of emotional intelligence to AI. And since the 1990s, a small number of companies and research have been developing the capacity to read our feelings and react according to those feelings. So researchers have trained computers to identify deep patterns in vocal pitch, rhythm, and intensity. The software can scan a conversation between a woman and a child and determine if the woman is a mother, whether she is looking in the child's in the eye, or whether she is angry or frustrated or joyful. So what they have done, some companies like Effectiva, is basically look at people's faces and basically understand the emotions and figure out the difference between a inner brow raise and a lip suck. So what Effectiva has done is their technology has the potential to monetize what is being called an emotion economy. Tech gurus for some time have been predicting the Internet of Things, the wiring together of all of our devices to create ambient intelligence, an unseen fog of digital knowingness. Emotion could be a part of this IoT. So companies like Hitachi, IBM, eBay, Sony, Yahoo, Motorola, and Verizon are all developing technology to understand people's emotions. So Sony researchers have anticipated games that build emotional maps of players, combining data from sensors and from social media to create almost dangerous kinds of interactivity, what they call it. There are patterns for emotion sensing vending machines and for ATMs that will understand if users are in a relaxed mood and if they were receptive to advertising. And companies such as TrueFace, FaceX, Carios, Amazon Recognition, all have APIs that can be used to create facial and emotional recognition. So Twitter is actually, I know Facebook is pretty much infamous now for the product that the technology they developed with Cambridge Analytica. So now it's becoming a little more difficult to use their services to understand people from a psychometric standpoint. However, Twitter, which utilizes everything that we say in Twitter is pretty much public information. So there are products like this one, which is owned by IBM, that can actually break down a person's psychometric profile according to their Twitter comments and statements. In terms of the other part of the casino, besides connecting with people, marketing, customer intelligence, smart technology can help with things like capacity planning. So in this case, we're looking at computer use. We're looking at the process of determining the production capacity needed by an organization to meet its changing demands for its products. Capacity planning enables you to optimize your current infrastructure as well as to model future change. You can use powerful scenario modeling to correlate application and infrastructure data together. Capacity planning will learn which applications are driving your infrastructure versus which application processes are consuming too much capacity. In terms of labor management, we can use, I consider a smart city as a city that attempts to increase contact between its citizens and the government. A smart casino should be bolstering communication between employer and employee. In The ways that we can do this would be through chatbots. So AI chatbots could boost candidate engagement through fast and helpful interactions. AI algorithms can recommend next steps to recruiters and automate what they can. AI analysis provides candidate insight and generates acquisition reports. AI-based data analysis can tell organizations why people leave the company. Sentiment analysis could explain motivations and behaviors of employees. And you could use biometrics, text analysis, and NLP an advanced sentiment analysis can identify why certain employees get disengaged, demotivated, or bored. Having determined the root cause of a problem, AI can then provide database recommendations on actions to boost employee engagement levels so that you could retain them for good. So AI can be used to assess the quality of employee work performance, make recommendations on next steps to train employees, could be used to alert managers when an employee might be ready for a new challenge. It can also help tailor data-fueled personalized learning paths and career plans, and it can provide real-time guidance in training programs. Integrated resorts also need a lot of products, and cold chain is a system whereby we can ensure that, or we can reduce the billions of tons of products that get discarded because of waste, which has an economic impact of $750 billion and obviously fills up our landfills and doesn't utilize our farming land very well. So a cold chain would be something hereby we're putting temperature sensors on pallets and trucks and products to ensure that they're staying at a certain temperature. They're not seeing too much light, which can actually create bacteria and spoil a lot faster. Can spoil products a lot faster. So multi-sensor smart devices can monitor perishable goods in storage and in transport and relocation, temperature and humidity data to the cloud. This provides real-time information on the precise conditions of each unit of goods and thus enables corrective action to reduce waste and save money. Because cold chain monitoring occurs in real time, corrective action can be taken immediately, which could potentially reduce spoilage and waste. So once an IR knows that the goods it is expecting will most likely arrive spoiled, the goods can be rejected and replacements can be found. The perishability of a product can also be tracked. We can add precision sensors along the supply chain. By placing sensors on each pallet of food, the differences in environment conditions between pallets in the same shipment can be measured and collected. This data can then be used to calculate the remaining shelf life of the product. With this information, you could then get rid of the old first in, first out inventory system and replace it with something which would be first expired, first out. So just to wrap up, in terms of smart technology, we're looking at sound with voice recognition, voice search, sentiment analysis, and marketing in multiple languages. With text, we're looking at chatbots, sentiment analysis, CRM, threat detection, reputation management, and review management. Regarding image, we're looking at facial recognition, image search, and CRM. And in terms of business functions, on the BI side of things, we're looking at business optimization, things like fraud analysis, IoT analysis, automation, increased innovation, better decision-making, and seamless programmatic and optimized marketing. On the customer experience side of things, we're looking at powerful recommendation engines that will deliver deep personalization, customer analytics, personal shopping for all, personalization marketing, customer segmentation, customer loyalty, individualized display ads, and we can individualize display ads, and also AI-powered marketing. The labor side of things, predictive hiring, education and training could be very much utilized with AI. IoT analysis and increasing of security. So that is the show. I'm Andrew Pearson.